Welcome to the Dale Lolley Show here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I am Dale Lolley, your host, and I don't want to say I told you so, but okay, I'm going to say I told you so. I've been saying all along, I thought the Steelers might get something done here with Diontae Johnson on a new contract. Some others were out there reporting that they weren't close. Nothing was going to happen. I just kept hearing that the Steelers wanted Diontae Johnson to be a part of this team for the near future, and we'll see about the future. And Diontae Johnson wanted to be here, so the Steelers get something done with their star wide receiver, and it looks like a pretty good deal for both sides of this. When you look at it, Johnson gets paid; he gets He gets $27 million guaranteed, and that's a big deal of it. He gets $19 million in the first year of the deal, which is big. That means that the Steelers essentially gave him about a $16 million signing bonus for that, which they can then spread over 3 seasons because they extended that this year. So that pushes his cap hit this year up, but they had space to do that. And it also it's a good thing for the rest of the team because they see how hard Diontae Johnson works on the field. His teammates see it; they appreciate it. That's why you've seen him, Cam Hayward talking to him about this, and Minkah Fitzpatrick talking about this, and T.J. Watt talking about this. Now, is he the star that some of those guys are? No, he's not to that level, but he's a very important piece to the puzzle here. And so it's a 2-year, $36.7 million extension that moves Johnson into the top 20 in terms of wide receiver compensation and average per year. But it doesn't break the bank for the team. And I think that's the key here. You get to keep a very good, still ascending player, but you get to do it at your price. It didn't necessarily break the bank here like some of these other deals have done with wide receivers. It gives him top 20 wide receiver per year basis. And he gets to become a free agent again in 2025. And if Diontae Johnson continues to do what he's done, then maybe the Steelers consider, another extension for him, or they let him hit the free agent market. By then this works out perfectly with George Pickens because Diontae Johnson is going to be under contract now for 3 years. When his contract is up, the Steelers can make a decision. Is George Pickens a star that they have to keep? He'll be heading into the final year of his contract at that point. Or is this a situation where, they re-sign Diontae Johnson again and, maybe look at an extension for Pickens as well, or they can let Pickens walk. There's a lot of different things they can do here. They're not going to stop drafting wide receivers in the meantime. But he gives them somebody that these young guys can follow. So somebody who works like crazy, and that becomes contagious in that wide receiver room. So a good deal for the Steelers, a good deal for Johnson. He gets a lot of money. He at this point in his career, he'd only made $3 million. So he gets $19 million in this year. That's a great deal for him, for a guy who hasn't made a lot of money. And so he's happy with that. And so all the stuff out there in the offseason, Diontae Johnson's I wouldn't pay him $20 million. He doesn't deserve $20 million. He shouldn't get $25 million. It was all speculation, folks. All speculation. Nobody talked to Diontae Johnson's agent. Trust me, I tried several times. Didn't return calls or anything like that. Diontae never said he wanted 20 or $25 million. That was all just speculation based on what some other receivers were getting. And so people got sour and bitter at Diontae Johnson. Do you feel a little better about this now? Do you feel like Diontae Johnson signed a fair deal, not only for himself, but the Steelers? It sure looks that way. Sure looks like this is a team-friendly deal that also gets the player paid. And that's not a bad thing. And he was back on the field today, and he said he wants to be a Steeler for a long time. And that's what you want. That's what you want. You want guys who want to be here. As Mike Tomlin said before, we don't want hostages. We want volunteers. Well, Diontae Johnson was volunteering. He wanted to be here. And now he will be here. at least for the next 3 seasons. And that's a good thing. Gives your team a number one target, gives your team somebody that you can trust in those situations. And he's only getting better. Everybody wants to focus on the drops in 2021 or 2020. I'm sorry. We had 13 that year. He only had 5 last year. Those are magnified because, well, he had drop problems in the past. 5 drops for a guy who got 170 targets last year. That's not a lot, folks. It's not a lot. So let's give the guy a chance here to redeem himself and come back and play even better in 2022. And maybe he won't have the number of catches that he did last year. 107 catches. There's only been 4 guys in team history who have had over 100 catches, and so he's one of them. So maybe he gets 95 catches or 90 catches this year instead of 107. But he'll still be the Steelers' best receiver. And maybe George Pickens replaces him as that someday. But right now, as we sit here on the Thursday, August 4th, Diontae Johnson is clearly their best receiver. And he showed it today in practice. Immediately, in one-on-one drills, burning down the sideline and beating Akello Weatherspoon. That was a one-on-one drill. So I don't blame Akello Weatherspoon on that one. You typically would have some safety help over the top on that. But he burned him down the sideline. Then he came over to the other side later in the drill. Turned James Pierre 6 different ways to Sunday. And caught a little 10-yard comeback, a little stutter stop and all that stuff, and just turned him around. He's a special kind of player. He moves differently than those other guys, and he deserved to get paid. So Steeler fans will have Diontae Johnson around for at least the next 3 seasons. Rest easy. The team's happy with that deal as well. I'm going to take a break. I'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley here on the Dale Lolley Show, and we're getting to the point in camp. We've seen 3 padded practices. We've seen 8 overall, where we can start maybe naming some camp phenoms, some guys who have showed up time after time after time. And, I think when you start looking at this Steelers depth chart, I think some guys who have really impressed thus far. You've heard me talk about Anthony Miller. I think he's really had some nice plays here throughout this camp. Really looked good as a gunner in Thursday's practice. They hadn't done a lot of that work yet. I don't know how much gunner work Anthony Johnson had done over the course of his career, but he did a good job of it in today. Looked like he was a natural at it. You could tell he's just a football player. Beat a double team, split the double team, beat them down the field to get to the return man and affect the return. So really good job by him. Miles Boykin did a good job as that as well. Now we know Miles Boykin has more of a background in special teams, but that was good of him, good on him. But Johnson or Anthony Miller doing that really showed up as well. I still continue to be impressed with what I see out of Jaylen Warren, although he did have a fumble today in team run. The first real miscue by Jaylen Warren that I've seen, but later in practice, he redeemed himself, had a nice run where he just took it and cut it up in there for about a 5-yard gain and just hit the hole quick. And then later he was out there working with the ones in some red zone passing drills. So good for him. He's really showing up here. And I've been told he's the second best running back in this camp. Of course, the number 1 running back being Najee Harris. And that's not just coming from me. That's coming from somebody high up within the organization. So you take that and you say, okay, I'll believe that. I'll trust that, what that guy tells me. Another guy that's been flashing here pretty consistently is Delonte Scott. He's a long, lanky guy out of SMU, about 6'5", 245 pounds. So he looks more like a basketball player out there. He's kind of built like Taco Charlton was. But this kid keeps showing up, keeps making plays out there, keeps doing some good things out there. And like what I see out of Delonte Scott, he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on here as well as things continue to move forward here at Steelers training camp at that outside linebacker spot. They've got 3 guys there, and Jannard Avery and Derek Tuska, and then Delonte Scott, who I think really have a chance here. They're fighting for the 3, 4, 5 spots. We'll see if Tuzar Skipper can force his way into that conversation as well. He's back for his 3rd go-round with the Steelers. And I continue to be impressed by Carl Joseph. And not so much what he does in practice, but the work that he puts in after practice is reaching legendary status. It was pouring down rain out here the other day, and everybody else had gone in, and there was Joseph out there working with 2 trainers, having them, he's laying on the ground and having them throw balls at him from different directions, and he's catching them. He just continues to put the work in. Really like what I see there. And then, of course, up front, Isaiah Loudermilk really seems to have taken that second year in year 2, made that jump. He's big, he's strong, physical, and he's been replacing Cam Hayward the last couple of days here in practice. You wouldn't know that they don't have Hayward out there, although obviously he's not quite Hayward. He's not Hayward, but he's a big body in the middle who really, really moves some guys around and does a nice job there. So that's some guys to keep an eye on. Connor Hayward keeps showing up in these passing drills, does a nice job there. I think he's having a nice camp. Jay Sternberger is a receiver, really doing some nice things there as well. So they've got some guys who are flashing here. I think Anthony McFarland has had a nice camp, really showing up as both a runner. You don't see the dancing that you used to see from him. Everything is just get the ball and go. I think that's obviously something that he has worked on as well. And his route running has been very crisp. He looks like he's put on some good weight as well. So there's some guys there to keep an eye on as we get into this final week of training camp practices here before they play their first preseason game in a week. Boy, can't wait for that either. And tomorrow night will be Friday Night Lights. Can't wait for that. But that's going to do it for today's Dale Lolley Show here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I thank you for listening. Of course, you can like and listen to all of our shows here. DK is out of country here, but Matt Williamson taking over some of those daily shots for him. So you can listen to those. Of course, listen to we got plenty of Steeler content on here as well. And then it's Pirates, Penguins, Pitt, Penn State. Anything you want to know about Pittsburgh area sports, you can get it right here on the DK's Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network or on our website, dkpittsburghsports.com. Go ahead and download the app as well. If that's going to do it, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm Dale Lolley.